Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply. It's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
This is Science for Humans with Dr. Jeff Galini.
We have an equally important discussion today with Dr. Jeff. How you doing, Dr. J?
I'm doing good. How about you, Carl?
Fantastic. And so today's topic is quite serious, actually. Not about building bigger calves and muscles, but really about heart health and heart health myths, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, that's probably one of the most important things that we need to think about. A lot of times we think that we can just run down the Radio Shack and get a few replacement parts when things wear out, but the heart is one of those things that you don't want to mess with.
In fact, the number one reason that people die every year is heart failure or heart disease related issues. And quite frankly, if you did everything perfectly right, if you harnessed every anti-aging method in the world, if you extended your life to 120, 130, 140, the way you would die, absolutely, is your heart would just stop beating. So
right.
the heart is the core of longevity. If you don't take care of it, you're going to shorten your life.
Absolutely. And, part of what I wanted to talk about today, besides just the heart, is there are a lot of things out there called myths that, we've heard, and we just want to kind of bust those myths and discuss those and give people good direction to how to take care of their heart.
Okay, so what's myth number one, Dr. J?
So myth number one is, this was well thought throughout the medical profession, that reducing homocysteine levels can protect against heart disease. So there were a lot of studies done back in the 60s, and essentially inflammation was the primary cause. This is what these studies revealed. Primary cause of arteriosclerosis, disease of the arteries, marked by the formation of plaque, and that elevated homocysteine, the cause of inflammation. Now, other studies also identified homocysteine as a strong predictor of cardiovascular disease. But now we're showing that may not necessarily be true. It may not be a good indicator. So one of the recommendations is, what do we do? Well, my theory is, since the jury is kind of out on that, why take any precautions, or why take chances? There's some very easy things you can do to help with those homocysteine levels, and those are just by adding B6, B12, and B12 to your
B6, B12,
folic acid to your supplement regimen.
Yeah. Now, guess where you can get all of those and more? VitaDrive.
Oh, yeah. VitaDrive.
Well, I know you weren't looking to plug that today, but it's the truth. I mean, VitaDrive has a complex of Bs in it that it covers all those bases.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we talk about, kind of the shotgun theory is you never know what you're deficient in. So it's always good to take a good multiple like VitaDrive, which is what I start my morning out with, to be able to get those.
But you know what else is good for homocysteine levels, Dr. J?
What's that?
Crealkaline.
Ah, yes.
Well,
that's right.
Homocysteine is produced as a byproduct of the body producing creatine. So if you supplement with crealkaline, your body doesn't have to produce creatine because you're getting it from an outside source. And when it doesn't produce creatine, it doesn't produce homocysteine.
There you go.
So there you go. There's two supplements right there to help you with your homocysteine levels. And quite frankly, what better place to buy them but All American Pharmaceuticals. So there you go.
Well, absolutely. So, again, why take chances? Whether they were right in the 60s or, they're saying it's not, there still is evidence that it's important. Now, here's one that I probably hear more than anything is heart disease is a guy thing. I'm a woman. I don't need to worry about that. Well, here's the truth is it is the leading cause of death in women over 65
yes.
and kills 5 times as many women as breast cancer. I mean, that is crazy.
Do you know that women have a lower rate of heart disease until they go through menopause, and they catch up? They make up all that ground that they gained over those years. After they go through menopause, the rates of heart disease go so quickly that they catch up to men.
And I think that's why they think that, because, again, you're absolutely right. You know, during that process, that's when all the risk factors essentially become relevant, where, you know, a lot of times younger women, they don't think about that. But again, you got to be looking for the future, because there's things that you as a woman and men, we can do now. As you and I have talked about quite a bit, you know, omega-3 fatty acids are a great thing to add to your regimen,
right?
Whether you eat a lot of fish or nuts, or you need to supplement that. There are some good things like turmeric, which has been shown to reduce inflammation, which is a big factor, you know, in heart attack and strokes. And in our buddy, vitamin D. You know, here's another good thing that it is good for. And then there's a couple other herbs like resveratrol and hawthornberry.
Cool.
But the omega-3s is probably the biggest one I would recommend.
Okay. What's the next myth, Dr. J?
Oh, I think I lost Carl.
Oh, can you hear me okay? Dr. J, can you hear me? Hello? What the hell is going on? Okay, here's what we're going to have to do. We are actually having some bad connection. I'm going to take a break real quick, and we're going to get Dr. J on the phone. Stay tuned. We'll be back very quickly. Do you know how to properly use carbohydrates to ignite your performance in the field and in the gym? You will now, thanks to this free book by EFX Sports. The Carb User's Guide for Maximum Performance reveals why omitting carbohydrates from your diet can totally crush your gains. Ever wonder how many grams you need for your specific sport? Not anymore. We give you the critical number you need to dominate your competition. You'll even discover the super carb that's taking the athletic world by storm. You must try it to believe it. Go to getcarbolyn.com/carb guide today and get your copy absolutely free. Once again, it's getkarbolyn.com/CARBGUIDE.
Superhuman Radio has the smartest and most dedicated health and fitness listeners found anywhere in the world. If you're trying to tap this market of greater than 50 million health fitness consumers, you simply can't do better than advertising on Superhuman Radio. Our sponsors tell us Superhuman Radio outperforms other forms of advertising time and time again. If you're tired of wasting valuable advertising dollars and need a new way to build your client base, go to superhumanradio.com and click on the Advertise With Us link. It just may be the best thing you have ever done for your business.
The category killer is back. Mass Pro Synthogen, with results literally from workout one. You'll recover like you're a teenager again. If you've been pouring your heart out in the gym with little to nothing to show for it, you owe it to yourself to see the performance-enhancing and cosmetic effects it can make almost immediately. One user said, "I wish I could have tried it sooner. I just ordered 2 more bottles." And another, "The overall single best bodybuilding supplement I have personally ever used." Visit CoachRobRegas.com or PredatorNutrition.com to learn more today. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
There are a few products that I believe in the way I believe in Can-C eye drops. I've been using Can-C for 6 months now, and the changes in my vision are nothing short of amazing. My near vision has improved, and I can read small print from 8 inches. My overall vision is clearer, and the glare from oncoming headlights doesn't bother me any longer. Just 1 to 2 drops a day, and the results are visible. You can find Can-C eye drops at wisechoicemedicine.net or call 800-861-4936. That's 800-861-4936. wisechoicemedicine.net. Can-C eye drops. The name says it all.
Hey, this is Carl. Start your day just like I do with a high-dose lipospheric vitamin C from Live On Labs. You too can benefit from Live On Labs' lipospheric delivery system. No more pills or powders. That's outdated technology. Live On Labs has the world's most efficient vitamin delivery system, period. Learn a lot more today at liveonlabs.com and benefit from their new reduced pricing. That's liveonlabs.com, Livon labs.com.
Ever feel like you want something crunchy? From the company that gave us the Quest protein bar, now comes the Quest high protein potato chips with 21 grams of high quality protein and only 5 grams of carbs and no artificial ingredients. Just like Quest bars, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to superhumanradio.com and click the Quest High Protein Potato Chip banner ad today and get ready to be satisfied. Thanks to Quest Nutrition, chips just aren't what they used to be.
Never before has an anti-estrogen been so powerful. The triazole formula is built on a potent all-natural aromatase inhibitor called Pizole, which has been shown in clinical trial to be as effective as a leading prescription aromatase inhibitor. Pizole works in concert with the rest of the triazole formula to control estrogen while simultaneously boosting testosterone significantly. In fact, one of triazole's testers had a 120% increase in total testosterone and a 257% increase in free testosterone. Triazole is available at bodybuilding.com, nutriplanet.com, or where finer supplements are sold. For more information, check out getds.com.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back to Science for Humans. We've got Dr. Jeff on the phone now. We were having a problem with the Skype connection there. Can you hear me okay, Dr. J?
Hello?
Can you hear me okay, Dr. J?
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit there, Carl.
We have a weird connection today. I guess the technology gods are not cooperating with us today. But anyway, we can still get the message across. So
okay.
The next myth that you wanted to bust, I think, was about regular exercise, right?
Yeah, we've been told that in order to prevent heart attacks, that you've got to do very vigorous, strenuous exercise. You've got to get your heart rate up to, 190. You've got to sweat. Well, earlier studies suggested that, high-intensity workouts several times a week were necessary, but we're now seeing studies come back saying that 30 minutes of moderate exercise, such as a brisk walk, 5 to 7 days a week, can improve your heart health. So, again, the point is, that's great if you like to run, you like to get on those Stairmasters where you get your heart rate up, but for those who can't do that or are afraid of doing it or don't have the time, something as good as just getting out and going for a walk or getting on a treadmill, a stationary bike where you and I could be sitting next to each other and have a comfortable conversation while we're doing our cardio, is really good enough, to kind of improve your heart health.
In fact, I'm sure that you saw this study when you were doing your research for this episode. But about 6 or 7 years ago, there was a research paper that was written that showed that 30 minutes of cardio in the morning will reduce your risk of having a heart attack that day by 70%.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, people buy insurance. They do things, all sorts of things, just 30 minutes in the morning and 70% reduction in heart attack risk for the rest of the day. What's more immediate than that?
Yeah, no kidding. So let's, again, for a lot of us who are athletes, we already exercise every day. But for those of you who, don't exercise regularly, this is something that's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to buy something. You just go outside and go for a walk. And if it's wintertime, just bundle up a little bit or go shovel some snow, like we do here.
Yeah, right, like you do in Montana for cardio. What about cholesterol? That's a big myth out there nowadays. Have you discovered anything new about cholesterol?
Nothing new, but, most people are familiar with kind of what cholesterol is. They just hear cholesterol and they go, oh, the lower the cholesterol, the better. Well, that's not necessarily true. You got to look at when you go in and you have a cholesterol test, that is total cholesterol, and it's made up of two different types, LDL, which is what we call the bad cholesterol, and HDL, which is what we call the good cholesterol. So, yeah, we want the LDL to be a little bit lower, but we want the HDL, the good stuff, to be higher. But even looking at more specifically at the LDL, there are two different particle sizes. There are small particle size, which are very dense, and these are the ones that are very dangerous. These are the ones that adhere to all the artery walls. The larger ones, they're fluffy, they're big, they really don't cause a lot of issue. So we want to really lower the small particle size and not be so worried about the larger particle size. Now, you can go to your doctor and you can ask for a test. This isn't normally done. Again, they usually do total cholesterol. You get your LDL and your HDL, but you can ask for a low-density lipoprotein particle test, and this will actually give you the the percentages of the small and the larger ones. So again, you want to get those larger ones down.
Are there any ways to reduce the bad ones more effectively? I know niacin is one of the things that people look to. There's also some polyphenols out there. Anything you've discovered or any suggestions you have?
Yeah, and this is kind of, you wouldn't think, you would say, oh, don't eat any fats, but actually, research is showing that by lowering our intake of sugars and carbohydrates, and I'm talking about processed sugars, right. You know that was good, right?
Right.
Your refined sugars and your processed carbohydrates, this will actually decrease the number of small, dense LDL particles. So it doesn't have anything to do with ingesting fat. It has to do with processed sugars and refined carbohydrates.
And this is something I've been saying for years on the show. I have lots of friends who will tell me they have high cholesterol. They've cut all the fat out of their diet. Their cholesterol is not going down, so the doctor wants to put them on meds. And sometimes I think to myself, surely the doctors realize that triglycerides have a glucose component to them. And surely the doctors realize if you want to lower triglycerides, you must lower the sugar content that's being dietary intake of the person, not the fat. But yet doctors regularly tell their patients, your cholesterol's high, I want you to cut out all the fat and cholesterol that you're consuming in your diet. And these people do it. And they get their fat down to insanely low levels. They go back to the doctor, and the doctor goes, your cholesterol is higher than ever. Why? Because they've reduced the fat intake and they've upped their carbohydrate intake dramatically. And so the doctor says, well, you just are genetically predisposed to high cholesterol. We've got to put you on a statin drug. This is a complete lie. This is like telling somebody who comes into your gas station, their engine won't start. And you know that it's because they're running out of gas. And you tell them, look, whatever you do, don't put any gas in your car because that's going to mess it up even more. And then 2 weeks later, they call you and say, my car is stuck. It won't even start now. And you go, oh, I've got to replace the engine now. So you actually tricked them into thinking they had a problem by telling them the remedy was not to put gas in the car. By telling the patient not to eat fat, they're going to eat more carbs. By doing that, their bad cholesterol is going to go through the roof. And then you're going to put them on statin drugs.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the discouraging things is, we rely on our medical profession and, they are brilliant people, but a lot of times they got these myths, these things that they've developed, and eating a lot of fatty foods, is going to raise your cholesterol level, but that should be secondary. They should be recommending lowering those sugars or getting rid of those refined sugars. They know that. I mean, they need to go back to, med school, first year where they were taught all this stuff,
So did you see the news yesterday about lung cancer? Lung cancer is the number one killer of patients with cancer. Okay? More people die of lung cancer than prostate cancer or any other type of cancer. Okay? Colorectal cancer, anything. Lung cancer kills people very quickly. Did you see the research yesterday that broke that was on the mainstream media about the linkage between sugar and lung cancer?
No, I did not.
So they're saying there was a really good study done. I don't know who did it. I haven't looked into it yet. We're probably talking about it on Friday on the show. That shows a direct linkage between people with high sugar intake, and we're talking about starches too, potatoes, pasta, bread. I mean, they implicated bread in this study. And the development and progression of lung cancer. And what they said was, the reason is because when insulin goes up, growth factors go up, and growth factors feed cancers, but they missed the truth in all this. We have been talking about the linkage between cancer development and progression and high sugar intake and insulin resistance for a long time on this show.
Right.
We've talked about how the mitochondria undergoes anaerobic respiration at some point in time, and this is when the cell becomes cancerous. This is when all the changes occur in the cell. The only way this happens is in the environment of an abundance of blood sugar. The reason that more people are having all types of cancers today is because more people are insulin resistant than ever before. This is directly related to sugar. It's not the growth factors. I'm sorry. If growth factors cause cancer, then a baby would get cancer because a baby is a growth factor party happening.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, one thing I wanted to say is make sure you're listening. We're not saying go on a zero carbohydrate diet. What we're trying to say when we're talking about sugars and refined carbohydrates, come on, donuts, pure sugar,
right?
Candy, sweets. This is all the refined stuff. We're not talking about good quality carbohydrates. Those are important for health and a balanced diet. We're talking about sugar and not honey sugar.
Well, but let's also talk about the state of the being. So if you're using a high glycemic carbohydrate in and around your workout, that's one thing. You're burning it off. You're not raising blood sugar levels to 180 nanograms a liter and then sitting down and watching the evening news an hour before bed.
Oh my goodness. Could you imagine doing that?
Yes, I did. I did that for a period of my life. That's how I got to be 330 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I've been there. I had high blood sugar. I had dyslipidemia. I had a heart problem. I know what it's like. And so, yes, there's a difference between you using a glucose supplement or a carbohydrate supplement in and around your workout because you're burning it off. It's not lingering in the body going, oh, no, what do we do with all this sugar now? This guy's not even moving.
Right.
So it depends on your status of activity as well. There are people out there who can eat high glycemic carbohydrates and they can fare well because they're so active. They're moving all the time.
Yep.
So it makes a big difference. Any other myths about heart disease you want to talk about, Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, I think I want to kind of round it up with this saturated fat. Again, we've heard that saturated fats cause heart disease. Well, it's a bit more complex than that. So what I wanted to recommend, again, don't go out there and just, cut out all saturated fats because somebody told you that or your doctor, like we talked about, said, oh, get rid of all your saturated fats. Don't eat red meat. It causes heart disease. A balance is what is important. I call it the you diet, which means what works for you. So you've got to figure out what a good balance is. Is it detrimental to eat, high amounts of saturated fat every hour throughout the day, 7 days a week? Yeah. But do you need to cut them all out? Absolutely not, because some of them are important, again, for energy, for keeping your body going. So again, moderation is really the key when it comes to any types of fats coming from meats and things. Now, I always do recommend, processed foods, fried foods on a regular basis. That is not a good way to get in your protein sources.
And the reality is that if you're eating a diet comprised of non-processed foods, things that grow out of the ground or animals, that you have a relationship with your farmer, or at least know where the animal protein is coming from, you're going to be fine. It's when you start getting in, we were at the Arnold the other day, and I'm not going to mention who it is, but we were at a top manufacturer of protein powder. A big name, a name that's in Walmart's, a name that's in the big box stores, a name that's in Kroger's, and I looked at one of their products, and it had hydrogenated oil in it, partially hydrogenated oil in it. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought we've learned that stuff's no good for us, number one. And what is that doing in a quote-unquote health food product?
Yeah, good point. We could go on for hours.
You're speechless, right? You're speechless.
I am because I know we've only got a few minutes left, and I don't want to start ranting about supplement companies not knowing what they're doing. But I am going to say something. It's because it isn't any longer about the quality of the protein. It's about we've got to use everything that the processed food guys use to make it taste good. So if ours tastes better, it has more mouthfeel, people are going to want to buy it. And don't be deceived about taste. Look at the labels, because there are processed supplements the same way there are processed foods. And when they start adding all of that junk, thickeners and hydrogenated oils and things to your protein powder, you are no longer taking a real dietary supplement. You're just taking a processed powder that's being marketed as a dietary supplement. That's
actually a really good point because most protein powder products live and die on their approach to taste. So many of them say best tasting protein powder voted by this and voted by that. Who cares if it tastes great? If it's basically a Trojan horse to get you to consume bad stuff, but they make it taste good. That's just silliness. And anybody who buys a protein powder exclusively because it tastes good, you're missing the mark. You're missing the whole reason you're taking protein powder.
And especially if you are a bodybuilder, you're in the fitness, because, I hear us talking all the time that, we don't care about taste. It's about the quality of our food.
Right.
Well, if we go out and we spend all this money on prepping our foods, and then we're using these proteins for 2 or 3 meals a day, why even worry about these quality foods?
That's a really good point. It's true, because most people say, I don't care about flavor. Food is fuel. But then I go out and buy this, quote unquote, the best tasting protein powder in the world, and it's loaded with junk. I mean,
well, we're going to talk next week about Thrive Protein, and I think, again, just to, not to pitch, but, that's one of the reasons why we developed Thrive, is to give somebody an all-natural approach to eating quality. Again, whether you drink it, you eat it, you chew it, candy bars, protein bars, they should be quality. Don't sacrifice because you think that there is no other alternative because they are the guy in the Walmart and Costco stores. No, go to quality, and everything that you do should always be quality. Because again, your heart, your body depends on it. You can't just run down to Radio Shack and get a replacement part.
I know.
And guaranteed you will have some issues from drinking these proteins that taste great.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, Dr. J, thank you for today's show, brother.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Talk